This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Thursday, September 12th, 2024. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
Both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump say they're pleased after their first and perhaps only debate.
This was my best debate.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Francine makes landfall and has more rain to dump on the southeast.
This is going to be a big flood impact.
I'm Clayton Neville.
The Kentucky highway sniper has still not been caught, and now authorities have declared a state of emergency. I'm Sue Aller.
Speaker Mike Johnson called off a vote in the House on a bill to avoid a partial government shutdown.
We've seen how this ends.
Ed Donahue, Washington.
Markets had a whipsaw but winning day yesterday, and mortgage rates are at their lowest since February of 2023. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Americans were duped out of more than $5.6 billion last year through fraud schemes involving cryptocurrency. Norman Hall, Washington.
All ahead on America in the Morning. Neither candidate may have changed voters' minds during their time at the podium in Tuesday's debate. As Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports, some voters have their preferences, but others still find themselves undecided.
Historically, we haven't seen. He dominated in 2016 all of his Republican colleagues. Here, she was able to make him look weak and submissive.
Well, I think it was pretty funny that, he was talking about people eating dogs and cats. I mean, really. Or we never knew that all these immigrants came for sex changes, too.
Probably a C on both people. I think Donald Trump was a little bit more demure in terms of what we've seen in the past. Harris was not quite everything that I would have liked to have seen her do and stay on task.
Kamala Harris and Donald Trump gave the American people starkly different visions for the country in perhaps their only debate before the November election. In Philadelphia,
Kamala Harris, let's have a good debate.
See you. Have fun.
Thank you.
The candidates met for the first time, and in an ABC News presidential debate proceeded to needle each other for more than 90 minutes.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people.
With Harris presenting her case far more forcefully than President Biden in his disastrous June debate with Trump.
She is Biden.
Harris said foreign leaders think Trump is a disgrace, and while she says it's time to chart a new path.
I have a plan.
Why hasn't she done it?
Trump and Harris differed sharply on abortion, immigration, and democracy, with Trump again insisting he had nothing to do with the Capitol riot.
I showed up for a speech.
And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you.
The debate ended hours before the first early ballots were to be mailed out in Alabama. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
Parts of the southeast are bracing for more heavy rain after Francine makes landfall in Louisiana as a hurricane. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest on Francine and where the storm's heading next.
Francine made landfall as a Category 2 storm in Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana, about 30 miles southwest of Morgan City. The National Hurricane Center says the storm packed maximum sustained winds of about 100 miles per hour with storm surge in some spots higher than 5 feet. In New Orleans, residents asked to stay inside until the damage is fully assessed.
Don't go sightseeing, stay home, because we want you to be safe and we want all of our first responders to be safe as well. We will be assessing the city, not you. We will.
New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell insisted that the city is prepared.
Your city has been making heavy investments for a long time, utilizing those federal dollars and really demonstrating that when the federal government invests big, I'm telling you, we can see the impacts on the ground. They're huge.
The region's not out of the woods yet.
Heavy rain and storm surge don't mix well, so this is going to be a big flood impact here over southern Louisiana.
National Hurricane Center Deputy Director Jamie Rome says that Francine's now tracking to the northeast as it loses some wind speed.
You can see it moves briskly up the Mississippi River Valley over the next several days, and it weakens from the traditional wind perspective, but it doesn't weaken from the rainfall perspective.
More American cities are on alert this morning.
Birmingham, Montgomery, in Atlanta, I want you to start paying attention to this storm from a rainfall risk perspective. This is the type of setup we get. We can get rainfall to be displaced well to the east of the center of circulation, so I really want you to start paying attention.
Well, some parts of the southeast are beginning to take a look at the damage. Others are hunkering down for what'll be a wet few days. I'm Clayton Neville.
Government shutdown looms when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Welcome back here with America in the Morning. The latest on Francine. First, other active weather across the nation. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
A cold front crossing the Intermountain West and a corresponding area of disturbed weather in its wake will contribute to the nation's main non-tropical precipitation chance for today, as showers and some thunderstorms develop from Montana toward the border with both Idaho and Wyoming, some potentially bringing downpours from time to time. Showers extend to the south and west across much of Idaho into eastern Washington, as well as northern sections of Wyoming, and there can even be some showers on the upslope side of the Cascades from Washington into Oregon today. Other than that, Francine is obviously the main rainmaker for the nation this Thursday, and the storm is expected to follow a mainly northerly track over Mississippi through the day, bringing tropical downpours and powerful winds from mostly northern Louisiana into much of Alabama, as well as western Kentucky and perhaps even far southern Illinois if it can maintain enough forward momentum through the day. 4 to 8 inches of total rain can be expected due to Francine from Mississippi and eastern Louisiana to southwestern Tennessee, but as Francine pulls away from southeastern Louisiana, rainfall can reach at least 8 to 12 inches in that area, with some locally higher amounts likely. Wind gusts to 40 to 60 miles per hour should become widespread from western Tennessee and southeastern Arkansas through the western tip of the Florida Panhandle. Otherwise, a dry Thursday looks to be in store for many from the southwest across the plains and into the Great Lakes region, with very warm to hot conditions from the northern high plains to parts of lower Michigan. Dry conditions stretch across the mid-Atlantic and New England as well today, but temperatures won't be quite as extreme compared to average. In Huntsville, Alabama, expect a windy, rainy day today with a high of 74. For Oklahoma City, sunshine is the story with a high of 89. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, you can follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. The hunt for a sniper who targeted drivers on a Kentucky highway has now escalated, with schools closed, sporting events canceled, and people urged to shelter in place as authorities search for their prime suspect. Correspondent Sue Aller has the latest.
It is still on. The manhunt for 32-year-old Joseph Couch. In an arrest warrant, Kentucky authorities say he is the main suspect. He is accused of opening fire on Highway 75 in Kentucky last week, which wounded 5 people. Police believe he sent a text message to his ex-wife vowing to kill a lot of people less than 30 minutes before the incident. Christina Donato's car was damaged, but she was not hurt. She spoke to CNN.
All of a sudden, we just heard this deafening loud sound, and it sounded like a rock went through my back window, and our ears were ringing, and we just looked at each other, and we were like, was that a gunshot?
A state of emergency has been declared for Laura County, Kentucky. Police spokesperson Scotty Pentington believes Couch is hiding in the Daniel Boone National Forest.
This is not like going across the road and looking in the woods and finding somebody. This is thousands and thousands of acres.
Residents have been living on edge, and many schools in the area will remain closed, some switching to remote learning until Couch is caught. Authorities say Couch legally purchased an AR-15 hours before he allegedly opened fire on I-75. I'm Sue Aller.
Delay in bringing to the floor a government spending bill after the House Speaker pulled it from a vote destined not to pass within a slim majority. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Speaker Mike Johnson called off a vote in the House on a bill to avoid a partial government shutdown.
No vote today because we're in the consensus building business here in Congress with small majorities. That's what you do. That's what I've been doing since I became Speaker.
Johnson included a requirement in the spending bill that people registering to vote must provide proof of citizenship. There are doubts the votes are there to pass. Johnson is not backing down.
The American people demand and deserve that we do everything possible to secure the elections. That's what we've been saying consistently. That's what I have heard from the people across the country in 198 cities across 39 states.
Democrats like California's Pete Aguilar are calling on Johnson to stop wasting time on a bill that will not become law.
We've seen how this ends. The only way to pass a government funding bill is to pass it on a bipartisan basis.
Former President Donald Trump seemingly encouraged a government shutdown if Republicans in the House and Senate don't get what he called assurances on election security. Ed Donahue, Washington.
When we return on America in the Morning, the 30-year fixed loan mortgage rates fall. That in business news with Jessica Ettinger when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, always putting clients' interests first. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a whipsaw day, but a winning one yesterday. The Dow was down 650 points, but then it finished up 120 points. NVIDIA shares popped 8% yesterday.
September's living up to its reputation. You know, the last 10 years, it's been a down month, and the volatility that hit right after Labor Day has continued.
BDA's Barbara Duran on CNBC. The annual inflation rate now at its lowest in 3 years in the latest CPI Consumer Price Index.
CPI month-over-month headline up 0.2 exactly as expected. If you look at the year-over-year numbers, 2.5 is the smallest amount going back to February of 2021.
CNBC's Rick Santelli. Seniors, though, can expect next year's cost of living increase in Social Security checks to be the lowest in 3 years because inflation has fallen. The Senior Citizens League says recipients are on pace for a 2.5% payment increase in January. Mortgage rates are now at their lowest since February of 2023. The average rate on a 30-year fixed home loan, 6.1%. That's according to Mortgage News Daily.
People are noticing their rates are coming down. We have a 6% rate today. It wasn't that long ago. It was 7.25%.
And that's meaningful for your business.
It's very meaningful. We can get that rate into the 5s, and it feels like that's where it's headed. If we have 3 cuts in this fall, we should have a 30-year fixed no point mortgage in the 5s. And look out.
Look out means what?
The market should take off.
Toll Brothers CEO Doug Yearley on CNBC. Campbell Soup wants to drop the word soup from its name after 155 years. The company's much bigger now. It makes foods like Swanson frozen dinners and Prego spaghetti sauce and Pepperidge Farm cookies.
Used computers are sought after. How much are they going for?
Well, nearly $1 million if it was owned by Apple co-founder Steve Jobs.
It was one of only 200 of the first Apple computers. It was hand-built by Steve Wozniak back in 1976. It is only one of 70 that still exists, and this is the only one that came from the desk of Steve Jobs. Christie's selling the Steve Jobs Apple I for $945,000. That's way above the $500,000 low estimate, and it is a record for any vintage computer.
CNBC's Robert Frank. On today's watch list, we're going to get the latest on inflation at the wholesale level, the PPI Producer Price Index. Earnings are coming from Adobe, Signet Jewelers, and the biggest pure grocery chain in the U.S., Kroger. And we get another read on the labor market. We find out how many people applied for unemployment benefits last week.
Always something to look forward to with CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. Fraud rampant in the cryptocurrency markets when America in the Morning continues after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Federal authorities are keeping a watchful eye on American cryptocurrency as cases of fraud is climbing rapidly. Correspondent Norman Hall reports.
An FBI report shows Americans were duped out of more than $5.6 billion last year through fraud schemes involving cryptocurrency. That's a 45% jump in losses from 2022. The FBI received nearly 70,000 complaints in 2023 by victims of financial fraud, including Bitcoin, Ether, and other cryptocurrencies. The FBI says recovering funds is challenging due to the speed of irreversible transactions and the ability to transfer value around the world. Officials say scammers will often make contact through dating apps or social media to build trust over several weeks or months before suggesting cryptocurrency investing. Norman Hall, Washington.
Police investigators now know what caused 6 people to suffer injuries at the Kansas State Fair. Here's correspondent Lisa Dwyer with more.
Investigators with the Kansas State Fire Marshal's Office and the Hutchinson Fire Department say an explosion that injured 6 people at the Kansas State Fair was caused by a canned food item that got too hot when stored near a food warmer. The explosion happened Tuesday night at a concession trailer called the Fry Shack. The food can exploded, and then the Fry Shack caught on fire. 2 people were hospitalized. Both were treated for cuts and then discharged. 4 others did not seek medical treatment. The 10-day state fair draws about 350,000 people each year. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
America in the Morning for Thursday, September 12th, 2024, is produced by Jeff McKay. Senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour.
The day after the debate, Trump continues to insist he won while others disagree. I'm Steve Futterman in Philadelphia.
Here at Ground Zero, family gather to remember loved ones lost on 9/11. Julie Walker, New York.
The U.S. and U.K. have pledged nearly $1.5 billion more in aid for Ukraine. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
An arrest made as wildfires rage in California. I'm Clayton Neville.
Questions about if the tech is up to the task at the post office. I'm tech correspondent Chuck Palm.
Singer Justin Timberlake is scheduled to enter a new plea in his drunken driving case. I'm Archie Zaraletta with the latest.
Back after these messages. This is America in the Morning. Welcome back. On the latest regarding Francine's expected impacts for today, here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
As Francine continues to track generally northward over Mississippi today, the storm will, of course, continue to deliver bands of torrential rain and intense wind gusts to areas from Louisiana and Alabama to Tennessee and southern parts of Missouri and Kentucky by late in the day. In particular, total rainfall of 4 to 8 inches is expected from southeastern Arkansas and most of Mississippi, southward through eastern Louisiana, with the highest rainfall totals of 8 to 12 inches and some locally higher amounts of perhaps 2 feet, most likely near and to the west of New Orleans. Wind gusts of 60 to 80 miles per hour can continue through today for mainly southern parts of Mississippi, with widespread gusts of 40 to 60 miles per hour reaching as far to the north as the Memphis metropolitan area. Otherwise, a sprawling area of high pressure covers most of the eastern half to 2/3 of the nation today, bringing generally comfortable and rain-free conditions from the northeast across the mid-Atlantic, with high temperatures running 5 to 10 degrees above historical averages, and pleasant nights featuring just some areas of fog in the usual valley locations. However, the Great Lakes, the northern and central plains, and northern areas of the Midwest sit in the heat once again today, with widespread 90s in the plains and 80s in many other spots, representing highs more like 10 to 20 degrees above the historical average. The southwest looks dry today, with cooler air continuing to filter into the west coast region behind a cold front tracking across the interior, but a piece of energy high up in the atmosphere will instead spark showers and even some thunderstorms from central Montana toward the Idaho border and northwestern Wyoming, where some heavy rainfall can occur at times. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember, follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, and YouTube. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. I'm John Trout. After the first and what may be the only presidential debate, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris are each claiming they prevailed against the other. Steve Futterman reports that both candidates are heading to battleground states, with each holding rallies today and with just 55 days until the election.
On the day after, there was plenty of reaction. Former President Trump made numerous appearances on TV and radio, despite polls from traditional organizations giving Kamala Harris a clear win. Trump, appearing on Fox News, insisted he won.
The polls are saying that I won that by 80-20, 92-7. And I sort of believe that's right. I thought, look, I've been told I'm a good debater. I think it was one of my better debates, maybe my best debate.
But even some Republicans and Trump loyalists said he did not do well. Former South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy appearing on Fox News.
I know the president listed several people that he had fired during his administration. He may want to add to that the people that prepped him for the debate last night. It was the land of missed opportunities.
One comment from Trump on Tuesday night continues to resonate.
In Springfield,
the former president talking about some immigrants in Ohio.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there.
The comments attracted so much attention that the mayor of Springfield, Rob Rue, reacted.
We wish to clarify that we have not been able to verify any credible reports or specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
As for the endorsement that followed the debate,
look what you made me do. Look what you made me do.
Taylor Swift announcing she will vote for Harris. Trump's vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance had this reaction on Fox.
We admire Taylor Swift's music, but I don't think most Americans, whether they like her music or fans of hers or not, are going to be influenced by a billionaire celebrity who I think is fundamentally disconnected from the interests and the problems of most Americans.
As of last night, Taylor Swift's endorsement received more than 9 million likes. Today, Harris will be campaigning in North Carolina. Trump is in Arizona. I'm Steve Futterman in Philadelphia.
Bells tolled and moments of silence observed in Manhattan, at the Pentagon in Washington, and at a field in western Pennsylvania as Americans commemorated the 9/11 attacks now 23 years ago. Correspondent Julie Walker reports the U.S. remembers the lives taken by the worst terrorist attack on American soil, marking the anniversary with both family and politics.
Jerry J. Borg.
Martin Michael Borashevsky.
Richard Edward Bosco.
And my uncle Kenneth Joseph Marino, who was a firefighter with FDNY Rescue 1 in Manhattan. He was one of the first responders on that day.
It was a tale of two 9/11s, families gathering across the country to mourn loved ones and politicians attending ceremonies. The New York Memorial brought out Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who shook hands before the names of the almost 3,000 killed on September 11th, 2001 were read by family members like Abigail Medina's sister.
She was a light in our family that will never go out.
Some family members reading names like Allison DiMarzio, who lost her mother Barbara Walsh, used it as an opportunity to speak directly to the politicians there.
Which one of you will have the courage to be our hero? We deserve better.
She was addressing the presidential candidates, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, who were there along with President Biden, over pressing Saudi Arabia about any official involvement in the attacks. President Biden then went to Shanksville, Pennsylvania with Harris to lay wreaths at the Flight 93 Memorial. Earlier at a ceremony there, Stephen Clark with the Park Service spoke about the memorial's message.
Hope, unity, love, and courage for our future.
Trump traveled to Shanksville later, Biden and Harris to the Pentagon to pay their respects, where a mourning memorial was held with Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin.
Every day we serve in the only surviving building struck by al-Qaeda on 9/11.
Austin says that gives them a powerful sense of purpose. I'm Julie Walker.
One night after the topic of Ukraine was an important part of the presidential debate, and on the same day, a Russian cargo ship suspected of carrying Iranian ballistic missiles is seen in the Caspian Sea. The Kremlin has launched a counteroffensive against Ukrainian troops in Russia's Kursk region. U.S. and British diplomats make a rare visit to Ukraine, announcing $1.5 billion in additional aid for Kyiv. Here's Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani with the latest.
On a rare joint visit to Kyiv, the U.S. and UK have pledged nearly $1.5 billion more in aid for Ukraine.
This is the first time in well over a decade that a Secretary of State from the US and a Foreign Secretary in the UK have traveled together, and that is to reiterate our complete support for the Ukrainian struggle.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken and British counterpart David Lammy went together to the Ukrainian capital in a show of support and announced the aid, much of which is aimed at boosting an energy grid Russia's been hammering before the winter. President Volodymyr Zelensky and other officials used the visit to re-up pleas for Western nations to allow the use of long-range weapons they've provided deeper inside Russia.
Among other things, we discussed long-range fires, but a number of other things as well. And as I said at the outset, I'm going to take that discussion back to Washington to brief the president on what I heard. I know that David's doing the same. And both of our bosses, no doubt, will discuss this when they meet later this week, actually on Friday.
With Kyiv's top diplomat urging bold action.
We're here together as partners to listen, to share ideas, and to continue to plan the way forward. I hope makes it very clear that there's an enduring commitment to Ukraine and to the Ukrainian people.
Blinken noted throughout the war.
We have adjusted and adapted as needs have changed, as the battlefield has changed. And I have no doubt that we'll continue to do that as this evolves.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
When we return on America in the Morning, the U.S. Post Office concerned they won't be able to handle the mountain of mail-in ballots after these messages. Welcome back here with America in the Morning. I'm John Trout. More destruction in California as several wildfires burn out of control, including 3 in the Los Angeles area that have scorched over 100,000 acres this week alone. Correspondent Clayton Neville has the latest, including a man arrested who police say may have intentionally started the line fire, which has burned over 34,000 acres.
3 massive wildfires in the LA area have burned more than 100,000 acres in just a week. More than 5,000 National Guard members are now deployed, and thousands of firefighters are working the fires. So are police and sheriff's deputies, as evacuations are needed in some areas.
We really didn't even have time to think. It was just throw everything in the car and go. And that was pretty scary.
ABC News spoke with residents in the San Bernardino area.
It's just a nightmare. My girlfriend lost her home, and I had to call her and tell her that she's losing her home. I could see it on fire.
The bridge fire ignited Sunday in the Angeles National Forest and has burned close to 50,000 acres. It's still 0% contained. The airport fire is still raging in parts of Orange County, and the line fire about 15% contained. It scorched well over 30,000 acres. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office says that it arrested 34-year-old Justin Wayne Holstenberg this week. He allegedly sparked that blaze. I'm Clayton Neville.
There's news regarding the parents of the alleged Georgia high school shooter. Attorneys for Colin Gray, the father of Appalachia High School shooting suspect Colt Gray, filed a motion in court requesting that he be held separate from the general population in the Barrow County, Georgia Detention Center out of fear for his personal safety. Colt Gray is accused of opening fire in his school, killing 2 students and 2 teachers, and injuring 9 others. The teen's mother, Marcy Gray, wrote a letter apologizing to the victims' families, saying if she could take the place of those who were killed, she would, also saying her son is not a monster. Colt Gray is being held in a juvenile facility and has been segregated from other inmates. America in the Morning continues. Shifting gears, a medical procedure called tubal ligation, or tube tying, is rising in states that have strict or near total abortion bans. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
The biggest increases were in states that ban abortion. A research letter published in the journal by the American Medical Association looked at insurance claims data from 2021 and 2022 for about 4.8 million women who got tubal ligations, which are surgeries to close the fallopian tubes so the patient can no longer get pregnant. The data came from 36 states and Washington, D.C., and researchers categorize these places as banned, limited, or protected based on their abortion policies. In the 18 months before the Dobbs decision, tubal ligations remained stable in all three groups of states. But in the latter half of 2022, the procedure rose in all three groups. I'm Hayya Panjwani.
Officials at the U.S. Postal Service have expressed concern they may not have the tech or the training to facilitate the millions of ballots expected to be sent in for this year's election. Here's Chuck Palm with that in today's Tech Report.
It seems that the U.S. Post Office has major concerns about their ability to deliver and collect millions of ballots in this year's election. The National Association of State Election Directors and other state and local election officials have raised serious questions about the facility's processing of lost or delayed election mail and frontline training deficiencies impacting their ability to deliver ballots in a timely and accurate manner. At odds is whether or not the staff has had training or the tech is up to the task. In a related story, executives from the major tech firms Google, Adobe, Microsoft, and Meta Platforms will be testifying next week at a U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee hearing on the threats to this year's election. Officials are trying to crack down on efforts to spread disinformation and misinformation online surrounding the November 5th election as it relates to this year's very tight presidential bid. Intelligence officials have confirmed that Russia, Iran, and China have all tried to meddle in the election. I'm Chuck Palm.
Thursday Sports is in. Here's America in the Morning's Robert Workman.
After being no-hit for 8 innings Wednesday, the Mets erupted for 6 runs in the ninth to upend the Blue Jays 6-2. Francisco Lindor started it with a leadoff dinger.
They felt really good. I mean, it was one of those hits that I could tell the vibes in the dugout just lifted.
Francisco Alvarez capped it with a 3-run blast. Toronto's Bowden Francis has now taken 2 no-nos into the ninth inning in the past 3 weeks and had both broken up by home runs. Tigers scored 6 times in the first inning and cruised past the Rockies. Pirates over the Marlins. Bailey Falter took a no-hitter into the 7th for Pittsburgh. Dodgers hit 4 home runs in the first inning, but still had to rally to beat the Cubs. Tommy Edman's second long ball of the night in the 8th was the difference. Shohei Ohtani hit his 47th homer and stole his 48th base. Phillies shaded the Rays. Zach Wheeler gets his 15th win. Philadelphia reduces its magic number to clinch the NL East to 9. Guardians completed their sweep of the White Sox. Lane Thomas collected 4 RBI on 2 balls that never got out of the infield. Yankees trimmed the Royals in 11 innings on Jazz Chisholm Jr.'s walk-off infield single. Tyler O'Neill's 3-run shot in the 10th gave the Red Sox the walk-off win over the Orioles. Diamondbacks romped over the Rangers. Eugenio Suarez hit 2 of Arizona's 5 home runs. Giants barreled over the Brewers. 17 hits for San Francisco, including 3 taters. Wins for the Mariners, Nationals, Cardinals, A's, and Twins. Week 2 of the NFL kicks off tonight with the Bills at the Dolphins. It's week 3 in college football. A couple of games tonight. Saturday, number 1 Georgia will be at Kentucky. That's Thursday Sports.
When we return on America in the Morning, pop superstar drunken driving. After these messages. This is America in the Morning. Thanks for listening. In New York, a deal has been reached between singer Justin Timberlake and prosecutors in his drunk driving case. Correspondent Margie Zaraletta reports.
Prosecutors are not giving details on how Justin Timberlake's plea will change when he appears in Sag Harbor Village Court in New York on Friday. However, a person with knowledge of the deal who is not authorized to speak publicly about the case tells the Associated Press Timberlake will plead guilty to a less serious offense. Timberlake's lawyer, Edward Burke, declined comment. Timberlake was arrested after police say he smelled of alcohol after running a stop sign in June. He had pleaded not guilty to a misdemeanor charge of drunken driving. A judge last month suspended Timberlake's driver's license. I'm Archie Zaraletta.
Another music star could be heading back to court as producer-rapper Sean Combs finds himself in more legal hot water. Kevin Carr has that.
Earlier this week, a judge in Michigan issued a default judgment of $100 million against the media mogul for the alleged sexual assault of a man in the 90s. This comes 10 months after Combs settled a $100 million lawsuit against former girlfriend Cassandra Ventura. She had sued him in November for what she described as years of sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. In May, CNN released footage from 2016 showing Combs assaulting Ventura in the hallway of a hotel. Shortly after this was made public, Combs released an apology video on social media.
My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video.
Now, Combs has been slapped with a new lawsuit from former protege Dawn Richard, alleging sexual assault and inhumane treatment. Richard also alleges she witnessed Combs' abuse of Ventura on multiple occasions, as well as abuse of other women. Richard first met Combs in 2004, auditioning for the third iteration of the MTV competition series Making the Band. She was the only performer from the band Danity Kane that was not let go.
As far as for you, Dawn, I still want to make music with you. I still want you to be signed to the label.
Years later, on the show V-Files, she described the uncomfortable nature of working with the music mogul.
Making the Band started my career, and we started it here. I want you to forget that it took place.
Combs has denied the allegations and insists he will fight them in court. I'm Kevin Carr.
Numbers are released as to how many people took in the opening week of the NFL football season. Here's correspondent Rita Foley with that.
The NFL averaged 21 million viewers per game during the league's opening week, making it the most watched week one on record. The NFL and Nielsen say that the per-game average on TV and digital platforms is a 12% increase over last year. 123 million people saw at least part of one game. That's the highest total for an opening week since 2019. NBC had the most watched game, with defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City's 27-20 victory over Baltimore in last Thursday's opener, averaging over 29 million viewers on TV and digital. Tom Brady's first game as Fox's top analyst, Dallas's 33-17 win over Cleveland, averaged almost 24 million viewers. I'm Rita Foley.
America in the Morning for Thursday, September 12th, 2024 is produced by Jeff McKay, senior producer Kevin Delaney. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.